After more than 2 decades working in the field of psychology, I'm still supremely passionate about helping couples and single adults discover more effective ways to live out their dreams, especially women. No, I'm not a feminist, nor am I a sexist. I'm a pragmatist. We're not like men. Men are not like us. Yet we women have power to make a difference. Hello, I'm Dr. Debi, and I've been helping men, women, and couples grow together for more than 25 years. Now it's your turn to learn what I learned and taught as a couples counselor and university professor. You are the wise woman, and this is your personal development podcast packed with instant encouragement and practical tips. And men can learn about women too, because this is a safe place where women are valued and men are respected. We talk about biology, socialization, behavior, emotions, communication, and connection, because men and women are different. Always have been, always will be, and that's a very good thing. According to tradition, men have been given the leading role, and that's where the frustration lies for so many women. Yet we still have power to make a difference without disrespecting men. In fact, our ability to influence men is a power most women never learn to use wisely. But life is not only about making sense of men. We have so much more to be and to do. And the good news, this module will help you succeed at life and love. As a clinical psychologist and professor, I've been teaching the psychology of men and marriage for more years than I can count. As women seek to understand the men they love, the same patterns emerge over and over and over again. Now that's actually a very good thing, because patterns mean things are predictable. Your path is predictable. That means there's a map. When you recognize the patterns, you know what lies ahead. And you have the ability to change your future, if you want to, by changing your patterns. Scary thought to have that much power, isn't it? I've been teaching the what, why, and how of a happy marriage for a long time, but I've never taught, seriously, not ever taught anyone the path to success. Yes, the path is predictable. Knowing what to do and how to do it, even why to do it, doesn't prepare you for the experience itself. And it often feels like an emotional roller coaster. As a psychologist, I walk this path with my clients, but they didn't have the advantage of seeing the map. But you're not only going to get to see the map, you're going to get your own copy of it. The daily question you will want to ask yourself is, where am I on the map? Maybe you've heard of the hero's journey. It's the framework for a bazillion stories. Many of those stories have made their way to the big screen in Hollywood. A heroine's journey looks quite different than a hero's journey, because emotions are most often our primary compass. Yes, men have feelings too, but they process them very differently than we do. That's why we need our own map. The map reveals all 3 stages and 6 levels of the heroine's journey to wisdom. All is well in the beginning, of course, but soon you encounter the dragon. No, the dragon is not your husband, nor are you the dragon. Instead, the dragon is any challenge you face. Any challenge. Now, I could simply say challenge, but that word doesn't accurately describe your experience. Imagine you're strolling through the woods, humming a sweet tune. Suddenly, something leaps in front of you, disturbing your peaceful dream and blocking your way. What would your first reaction be? Well, your heart would start pounding. Fear would overtake you, throwing you into fight, flight, or freeze mode. As a woman, you would look for an escape route and someone to help you fight the dragon. But you don't stay there. You keep moving forward. But sometimes you don't. The hero's journey is really like Chutes and Ladders, the popular children's game. You keep moving forward no matter what happens, and stuff will happen. Your goal is to arrive at square 100. Now, do you remember? I'm going to refer back to this, so keep the game in mind. You spin the spinner with the hope of going forward, but where it lands is totally random. That is, you have no control over where you land. As you move along the path, you might land at the bottom of a ladder and move to a higher level instantly. You might also land at the top of a chute and suddenly drop back down to a lower level. What matters is you keep moving forward. You never give up. The map shows you the path. Some of what happens will seem random, but everything happens for a reason, and none of those reasons are a sign you should stop moving forward. Pause maybe, take a break when you need it. It's your choice. But if you want to get what you want from life and from love, you must never stop, no matter what happens. On the heroine's journey, you will go through 3 stages. Each stage has 2 levels. And it's important to know where you are because at each of the 6 levels, there's going to be at least 2 choices. You can't know which choice you have before you if you don't know where you are. Please listen carefully to these words. There is no shame and no blame in being where you are at any given moment. Neither of those beliefs will help you in any way, shape, or form. If shame, blame, or guilt rear their ugly heads, you can make them disappear by using one weapon: self-empathy. That is, you must learn to change your self-talk. Instead of blaming someone else or feeling ashamed and guilty for being where you are, realize it makes sense to be where you are right now. Given your personality, experience, and circumstances, anyone would be where you are. At the same time, realize it's your choice whether you decide to stay there or to keep moving forward towards the next level. Just remember, we all go through the same stages. Me too. And I still use the map to help me understand where I am at any given moment. The good news, I've learned to recognize where I am more quickly than I did when I started the journey. When I know where I am, I can make my choices quickly and move up to the next stage without lingering any longer than necessary. And you can do that too. So, what are the 3 stages and the 6 levels of the heroine's journey? We'll talk about each one in detail. But first, I want to remind you of your superpowers. I'm super excited to help you make sense of your husband so you can move forward beyond your vulnerability, confusion, and frustration to a safer place where you can experience the hope, the confidence, and the wisdom you need to overcome the challenges of life and love. However, before you take a single step, you need to remember you've got what it takes. You have superpowers. Your emotional sensitivity, your attention to detail, and your hunger for understanding. Now, your number 1 superpower is actually your emotional sensitivity. So we'll always start with how you feel right now. In my work with couples, I usually begin a weekly session by asking the husband how things went since I last saw them. His response was often, "Better." And when I asked what had changed, his answer was equally brief. "We didn't fight as much." He could never explain why. Then I would turn to his wife. "How'd it go?" "Not so good." Then she would elaborate. Naturally, effortlessly. It was her superpower. Although her husband was far more sensitive than she, he was unable to articulate the details. Men are taught to ignore their feelings and to take action instead. He simply didn't have the training and practice of going into detail about how he was feeling. Virtually every man I've counseled is quickly flooded, that is, overwhelmed by their own emotions and their wife's emotions. And when that happens, he can't even think clearly. So he goes silent. Emotions are your superpower, and emotions are your husband's weakness, his ultimate vulnerability, especially with you, his wife. Your feelings really do matter. Most of the time, you want to hold on to your good feelings and make the unpleasant feelings go away. But if you try to do that, you're just wasting your time. And you're missing some crucial information that can help point you to the next step on your path. Feelings are your primary source of information, like the pain you experience when you step on a sharp rock walking barefoot on your favorite beach. You would never ignore that, would you? You'd pay attention. You'd look to see what caused the pain so you could take care of your foot. Then you'd be more observant about where you were walking. In other words, you'd take a look, then you'd take action. Feelings and emotions go hand in hand. We can talk about the differences later, but for now, let's use the terms interchangeably. First, just notice the word emotion. Then think of the E like you do the E in email. It means electronic. It means it arrives in your inbox fast. What's left? Motion. Emotions are quick signals that tell you to get into motion. Take action. You need to pay attention to the signals your body sends to your brain, not only the physical feelings, but also those pesky emotions, because your emotions are a primary source of information. Of course, you'll need to decode the message of your emotions before you take action. And that's never more important than when you have strong feelings about your husband. Your emotional experience is telling you something. Don't ignore it. Not ever. Instead, begin where you are. That means you have to know where you are, and how you feel is like a giant billboard that pinpoints your exact location on the map. Your second superpower is your attention to detail. That means your eyes and ears are always open, enabling you to detect the slightest change in your environment and in people, including yourself. The meaning you assign to those changes informs the choices you make, and the choices you make can send you backwards down a chute or up a ladder to the next level. Alas, life isn't totally random after all. Your third superpower is your hunger to understand, which is why you're here, right? Your beginning point was your personal Garden of Eden. How did you feel when your relationship began? Adored, alive, attractive, beautiful, blissful, cheerful, delighted, desirable, ecstatic, elated, energized, excited, fantastic, generous, glorious, grateful, happy, invincible, joyful, kind, lovable, marvelous, optimistic, overjoyed, passionate, pleased, proud, sweet, tender, thoughtful, triumphant, turned on, understanding, vivacious, wanted, warm, and wonderful. There's nothing on earth as wonderful as falling in love, and there's nothing more beautiful than loving someone who actually loves you back. No one wants to lose those feelings. So from that day forward, you were highly invested in holding on to those feelings, to soak and to thrive in those affirming emotions forever. The early stage of romance is an addictive drug, and you'd do almost anything to stay on that high. Your expectation was heaven on earth, both in life and in love. But it's highly likely that you encountered the dragon not long after you met your future husband. No, your husband is not the dragon, and neither are you. The dragon is a challenge that stands between you and where you want to be. Any challenge, including goals beyond your relationship. When you stop and think about it that way, you realize you've already conquered many dragons in your life. Most of the time, you had the confidence to figure it out. Like learning to walk. You didn't give up. No matter how many times you fell down, you got back up and tried again. As you got older, your confidence took a few hits, maybe a lot of hits. You assigned meaning to the things that happened. And, just so you know, the meaning you give to an event is always emotional. So the more hurt you were, the more likely you were to believe the worst and prepare for the worst, to try to protect yourself. In that state of mind, you started telling yourself lies and believing them. Lies like, I can't, it's too hard, I don't know how, I'll never figure this out, I don't have what it takes, I'll never get what I want, I can't ask anyone to help me, no one understands, it's too late. And the most powerful lie of all, no one will ever love me, I don't deserve love. You run everything that happens between you and your husband through that very same filter. The good news is you can change that filter. But let's not get ahead of ourselves here. Instead, you're going to learn to use your superpower to discover where you are and what's keeping you stranded there. In the meantime, you can still be confident about where you want to go and increase your ability to learn how to make the journey. And that's where the guide comes in handy, teaching you how to use your superpower to help you advance from each stage of the journey to the next. Now let's unfold the map and take a look. Or, since we're digital nowadays, let's click Preview Route. Thank you for listening to this episode of A Wise Woman's Guide to Men and Marriage. What did you think? Did the information raise more questions? Do you want to learn more? Head over to wisewomansguide.com for show notes and links to the resources mentioned in this episode. And if you're looking for other wise women to bounce around ideas and ask questions, be sure to join my exclusive community for women on Facebook. The link is waiting for you at awisewomansguide.com.